Welcome to Brain Lady Speaks with Julie Anderson on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on the brain-personality connection. She has been inspiring her audiences to fire up their brains and ignite positive changes in their relationships. And now she is here to bring that knowledge to you. The information she shares will help those who hear it to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. When you learn to tap into the potential of your natural gifts and the power of the brain-mind connection, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. Today and every Wednesday on Brain Lady Speaks, you'll explore the latest findings to see how they have practical application in your life. And now, get ready to join Julie Anderson on Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Take it away, Julie.
Good morning on this beautiful Wednesday morning, May 18th, 2016. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show on the Lessons in Joyful Living Network. I am excited. We are halfway through the month of May. Actually, we're on the second half of the month of May, and we've had some great guests this month. And today is no exception to that. We have a wonderful lady, Sarah, on the show today, and she is going to share with us some pretty emotional information. It's going to be some hard-hitting information. And you know that everything that we do here on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show has a purpose connected to the brain. It's the science behind the psychology of our mindset, of our emotions, of being able to achieve more in life and relationships and business by maximizing that power of the brain, maximizing our own natural innate gifts. And something that I have talked about on several of the shows in the past is we've dealt with depression issues and what's going on in the brain when that happens, and then how that kind of leads into how you can work through that, and perhaps with the aid, of course, of any medical practitioner that you might already be under the care of, to work through those situations, work through stressful situations, emotional situations, to be able to just develop a more positive mindset. And so today we're going to be talking about the topic of suicide, and it's the one step more serious, obviously much more serious than that of depression. And I found there's some pretty interesting statistics out there that we're going to be sharing, and Sarah will be sharing her personal story and some things that we can do about it, how we can be proactive to help out this situation. But before we get to our guest, I just want to hit on do a little bit of housekeeping. I really want people to, seriously, when you're listening to this, we're getting tens of thousands of downloads now on the programs, which is so exciting. But I would really enjoy your feedback. So if you're listening to this show and something that is on the program hits you or strikes a nerve or interests you or piques your curiosity, contact me. Go to so it's info at yourbestmindonline.com. That is my company's name, Your Best Mind. So Your Best Mind online.com, and reach out to me. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you're thinking. Ask me your questions. If you have a similar topic that you would like to see covered, or something that you've been curious about that you've heard in the field of brain research or depression or mindset, and you think it would be an interesting topic, or you'd like to hear more about it, then shoot me that email and let me know. And I will, I'll work it into the topics that we have coming up. We've got lots of topics already figured out for a good portion of the year, but I might be able to, if I get a lot of feedback on a certain something or a certain topic, I'll definitely try to fit that in. Also, we are available on iTunes. So you can listen to us you can go to brainladyspeaksradioshow.com and listen to past shows there. A lot of my links are there from past show guests, as well as links to contact me or links to connect with me on the different social media outlets. But you can also go to iTunes and just type in Brain Lady Speaks, and I will come up, and you can listen to all of the past shows that way as well. And if you like what you're hearing, then please, leave me a little something on the review so that other people know that it is a good show and a positive show to listen to. So do that. Connect with me on Facebook, Purple Brain Lady, Twitter, Brain Lady, LinkedIn, Brain Lady. There's a little bit of a pattern here, right? Yeah, connect with me. Keep in touch with me. I'd love to interact more with my audience and provide as much content and as much support and as much help and resources as I possibly can. So that being said, I am going to get to the topic of the day. And before I bring Sarah on, I looked up some of the statistics, the current statistics that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control here in the United States, has put out regarding suicide, because it's such a serious issue, and it's something that I don't think gets enough attention. It kind of falls into the background, and really what we want to focus on a lot today is the prevention end of it. So when we see these depressed individuals, or we know of individuals that are depressed, are there positive, proactive things that we can do? And when I was looking at some of these statistics, as I said, that were put out, in the nation, there are 42,000, or were back in 2014's official data, 42,772 suicides for the year, which broke down. And when you think of it in a large number, it isn't as impactful to me as when I looked at the daily. If you break that down to daily, that means that 117 individuals are taking their own life every single day. That is an average of one person every 12 minutes. That's like, wow. When I read that, was amazing. And these are just the completed suicides. These aren't the non-fatal outcomes, the attempted. And annually, there's over 1 million people that in the United States that attempt suicide. So this is pretty serious. And not only is it serious when we're talking about these statistics and these numbers in general, but me as a homeschool coach, as a parenting coach, I always talk a lot about the teens and the teen brains. And pardon me, among teens, suicide suicide is the second leading cause of death in people ages 15 to 24 years old. Second leading cause of death. That just shouldn't be. Just shouldn't be. It's very sad, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this show today. So what I want to do at this point in time is, Sarah, I want to bring you on. I want to invite you, introduce you. I don't have a big long bio, but I know that you've been touched by suicide yourself, and you're doing a lot to help that. So Sarah, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. We've texted back and forth, and this is the first time I think we've actually been able to have a voice-to-voice conversation. Yes. So this will be very nice. So Sarah, you are working with your group is called Team Meowtones, and you are working to and correct me if I'm wrong, to bring awareness to these facts and figures that I just shared, and then help to promote some things that we can do to prevent. Is that basically your goal?
Yes, that is our goal, and to decrease the stigma related to suicide, because we found that a lot of people won't talk about family members who are having depression issues. They won't talk about family members who have committed suicide. So one of our main goals as a team is to help make that something that people talk about, just like cancer or diabetes or anything else, so that we can come together as a community and start helping people.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. It's amazing what you're doing, and I agree. There seems to be a stigma. As you said, we'll talk about cancer or heart disease or whatever, but it's almost like we don't know how to deal with depression. We don't know how to help people. And so for that reason, we just don't talk about it. We try to kind of, sweep it under the rug, so to speak. Is that what you find?
Yeah, and it was amazing to me after my brother passed how many people that I knew came up to me and said that they had lost someone from suicide. And these were people that I shared an office with for years, people that I'd known, for years, and they'd never mentioned it. It was just not a thing. And they finally felt like they could talk to someone because I had been through the same thing. And it was a real eye-opener for us because we never hid that my brother was going through depression or anxiety. We never hid the fact that he committed suicide. It's always been something that we've talked about openly and that we've shared with others in hopes to try to get other people to talk about it so that it's not just something that happens, in the quiet of night where nobody talks about.
Yeah, I think that's important because being able to be proactive about it and be able to help individuals and ultimately, of course, it is no one. I wouldn't want to put out there that it's anyone's responsibility to prevent it, but there are proactive things that we can do to be supportive of those who are suffering from severe depression. And of course, clinically, I want to emphasize at this point before we get more into the body of the show that if you are listening to this and you are experiencing depression or you have had suicidal thoughts, please, please, please reach out to help. And we're going to be talking today on the show as we get into, we're going to give lots of resources that Sarah is going to give us. And it's important that we make sure that we be supportive of those. And if you know of someone who is suffering from depression, we want to make sure that we give you the resources to help them as well. And two, if you are under the care of I always want to put this disclaimer out, if you're under the care of a physician or a doctor, then just use any of the information that we're giving you today as an add value, as add to your support system that you're currently under. We don't want you to make big decisions without consulting your practitioner or someone that you are working with. And Sarah, we're going to get ready to go to a commercial break here for just a little bit. And then when we come back, if you're willing, I'd love to have you share with us a little bit more of your personal story and what led you to that, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
All righty. So get comfortable, get a drink, heat up your coffee, and join me back after the break on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Imagine what your life would be like if you could master the thoughts in your head that hold you back, the thoughts that prevent you from living the very best version of the life you're here to live, the very best business that you're here to create. I'd like to invite you to join the Art of Personal Mastery, the free online event that starts the 11th of April. All you have to do to join is to go to www.theartofpersonalmastery.com, enter your name, your email, click Get Access, and I'll share with you how to join me and 21 leading experts from around the world talking about how to break your bad habits, create powerful new ones, master your mindset and your actions to create the life you're here to live. I'll see you there. www.theartofpersonalmastery.com. I'll see you soon.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Muscle soreness is not an accurate gauge of whether you've had a good workout or not. After you have exercised the next day, you may not feel anything, or you may have muscle awareness. But if your muscles are really sore, that's not good. Not only physically, but mentally also. Being sore has many factors. such as how much stress you've been under, how much sleep you have had, how your eating is going, etc. So scoring your workout on how sore you are is counterproductive. I am asking you to work out every day. But if you push yourself too hard one day and are so sore that you can't work out the next day, that's not a good thing. Exercise should be pleasant and productive. I want you to exercise the rest of your life. Working out does not have to be uncomfortable to be effective. Be consistent, get a great workout in, and enjoy. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about that topic of depression and then suicide and suicide prevention. And we have a wonderful guest with us, Sarah, who has been touched personally by this tragedy. So Sarah, before we left, before we went to break, I had mentioned that I wanted to, hopefully hear some more from you about your personal experience with your brother. So can you share that with us? Kind of what did you notice in your brother, and what's that story that you share?
Sure. Our story actually started when he was around 13. He was about a teenager, and he started to change. He started becoming more depressed. He had trouble sleeping, had trouble being motivated. We started seeing a psychiatrist and taking medication. He got better around his early 20s, I would say, and I think he even went off the medication at some point. He was really happy. He met his wife. He got married. They had a son, and things were going good. Around 2011, I think it was, my sister-in-law got pregnant again unexpectedly with their second child. And I don't know if the stress was just too much or what, but after my niece was born, he kind of just started to have a breakdown. He was becoming reckless in his behavior. He was taking off for weekends, and, he had 2 babies at home. He was saying bizarre things. He was insinuating to me that he was using illegal drugs. We know he was smoking marijuana for sure. Some of his friends had contacted my mom and I and said that they were concerned about him, that he had made suicidal comments, and that he wasn't acting like himself. And so this went on for about 9 months, I'd say. And we tried to get him help. He tried to get in. He had Kaiser insurance, and he called to try to make an appointment. They couldn't get him in for about a month. They wanted him to go to group therapy first, which he didn't really want to do. I mean, he definitely wasn't new to the scene. He knew what he needed, and he wasn't getting that help from Kaiser. So my parents, being the awesome parents that they are, they paid for him to go to a psychiatrist just out of pocket. So he was seeing a psychiatrist in Yolo County. He was allegedly taking medication. We don't know if he was actually taking it or not, but he was still just acting really bizarre. And so we were trying to keep an eye on him. We called him every day. At one point, we actually tried to have him committed on a 5150 hold because he had called me or texted me and said that he was taking PCP or LSD, I can't remember which it was, and that he was driving his car down the Pacific Coast Highway. So we actually called CHP. They wouldn't take him in because he was acting normal when they spoke to him. And we tried to get him to stay with my parents for a while. We had friends checking up on him, driving by his work. I mean, just everything you could think of to try to keep in touch with him. And it just seems like he got worse and worse. And one of the main things that was an indicator to us, or to me at least, that he was going down a slippery slope is that he was just acting reckless, and he wasn't really engaging with his children that much. And his children were like the light of his life. They were, he was a very involved dad. He was a super loving parent. And so that was a huge sign that things weren't right. And towards the end, he actually started to act a little bit better. It seemed like there was a weight off of his shoulder. And that's another thing that is a sign that we actually didn't know about at the time, but sometimes when people start saying, they don't care anymore or it's all going to be fine soon, stuff like that, it's an indication that they're contemplating suicide. And we actually did ask him straight up multiple times if he was considering suicide, and he always said no, that he wasn't, and that he didn't want to leave his kids. And then on October 3rd, 2012, my sister-in-law tried to go back to the house, and my mom just had a feeling that something wasn't right, and they asked the officers to go over with her and go in the house, and they found him in the home. So we lost him in 2012. And in 2013, I started Team Meowtones for Suicide Prevention, which is part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The way I came about that is, after I lost my brother, I just had so many questions, so many why? Why did this happen? Why us? We have a good family. We're very loving. We tried everything. We went to the therapist. He had the medication. How did this happen? And I came across the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and it was just a bunch of people who were in the same position as me and my family who had lost someone, or people that were struggling and had considered suicide in the past. So I started a team January of 2013. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but we ended up getting a ton of support. We raised around $4,000, I think, the first year. We participated in the San Francisco Walk, and we actually were the third top fundraising team that year, our first year, right out of the gate. So the second year, I realized there was a Sacramento Walk, so we signed up for that and picked up a few more team members and kept going, and we actually were the top fundraising team in 2014, I guess that would have been. We raised around $7,000. And then last year, we were again the top fundraising team. We raised around $8,000. And so we're back at it again for 2016. Hopefully we'll be the top fundraising team again. Every year we've picked up more team members. We've gained a little bit more steam. This year, my co-captain, Rochelle, and I are actually involved with the walk committee itself. So we're getting a little bit more deeper into the process. We're learning about how the walk works, what goes into putting it on, and some more resources that we can do for the community. I actually took a course recently with the AFSP director regarding suicide prevention and what to do if you think someone is suicidal. I'm hoping to get more involved with the community. I live in Yolo County. I was born and raised in Yolo County, and so is my brother. So my focus is primarily here in Yolo County. I'm trying to work with some of the schools and hopefully some of the law enforcement departments to get these programs into the schools and into some of the county departments for people who work with the public, who work with at-risk individuals, where they can notice the signs and take some proactive measures so that we don't just ignore it, sweep it under the rug, and lose more people to suicide.
That I think is a powerful tool. What a touching story to know that all of you sat or went through such a long period of time, his wife and his, his parents and you, his sister, watching him deteriorate emotionally and knowing that there was a danger there and, doing what you could to work with it. But it sounds like you have some more tools at your disposal now. And I love the fact that you're wanting to take it into schools. I think that is so important. I often mention, when we talk about the brain in terms of its growth and its wiring, it's not completely developed. That prefrontal cortex, which is your key reasoning. And it's interesting that your brother's depression started when he was around 15 or 13, you said, that prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for judgment and reasoning and, recognizing consequences of actions and things like that, isn't completely wired until you're about 23 years old. And I could see how when it said that it was the second leading cause of death in that age group, the 15 to 25, I thought, wow, there's got to definitely be a connection there that they're not only are they suffering from the emotional issues of depression, but they're also basically not working with a full brain yet. But your brother had kind of come out of that and then slipped back into that. So tell us, you have So you talked a little bit about, I'm trying to figure out exactly, I want to make sure we get everything covered on the show. You were talking about a walk, and we'll get back to that walk and other ways. You also had mentioned there's going to be a pizza fundraiser that I want to be sure that we get attention to. And I'm going to mention it now. I'll mention it again later in the show. But if the listeners go to, pardon me, these allergies, teammeowtones.com, Team Meow, like the cat, tones, plural.com. That is where you can see information about Sarah's team and things that she has done and different fundraising things that you are currently doing. So tell me the story behind that name, Team Meowtones. That's cute.
It's so peculiar. So my brother had a cat named Margarine, and she was a very vocal cat, so she was always meowing at them and talking back and stuff. And he had a funny sense of humor, and so he always joked around that she had her own rock band, and it was named Little Gray Hair and the Meowtones. So that was a story that my sister-in-law Charlotte had shared with me after his passing, and it just was so him that we just had to go with it. He was just such a unique person with such a quirky little sense of humor that just really spoke to me as something that represented him. So we took it and we ran with it, and now we're stuck with it. So we like it.
That's cool.
And I just wanted to mention.
Go ahead.
Oh, the teammeowtones.com, that will take you to our fundraising page, but it doesn't have a lot of information about our fundraisers. We actually do most of that on Facebook, and we can be found on Facebook at Team Meowtones for Suicide Prevention. Because the teammeowtones.com is just our donation site. That's actually through the AFSP. So we don't get very personal on that.
So let me repeat that. Team Meowtones for Suicide Prevention. And that is your Facebook.
That's our Facebook.
Okay, I'm writing that down so I can be sure to repeat that again at the end so we can drive people there. And this is where the listeners will be able to check out the upcoming fundraisers, like the pizza thing that I'll have you explain a little bit more. And then you also said that you do a spaghetti feed every September as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All righty. Okay, so we're wrapping up this segment. We're going to come back. We're going to go to a short break. I want everybody to get comfortable. This is a heavy subject, so take a deep breath. Just relax for a little bit, for a couple of minutes, and then come on back and join me with the Brain Lady Speaks radio show.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living radio network.
Congratulations on being the proud owner of an adorable, soft, cuddly, sweet-smelling, smiling, cooing, hungry, tired, gassy, screaming little bundle of joy. So now what? Where's the owner's manual for this thing? Where are my instructions? Right here. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet.com. Infant care specialist Blythe Lipman has worked with babies for over 20 years and works extensively with new parents, providing workshops, in-home visits, tips, and daily phone calls to ease those frazzled nerves. With Baby and Toddler Instructions, you can get the advice you need on how to survive and enjoy your baby's first year. For more information on Blythe and how she can help you, go to babyinstructions.com. From 32 ways to stop a baby from crying to 14 ways to get a baby to eat and so much more. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet.com.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors. All quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. This is Julie Anderson here, Julie Brain Lady Anderson. Welcome back to the second half of the Brain Lady Speaks radio show. We are here with amazing guest Sarah, she has shared her personal story of how she lost her brother to suicide. And what I thought we'd focus on next, Sarah, is really help us to understand. So we see somebody, or we know somebody in our life, let's say, that is depressed, and we notice changes. We notice that it's getting worse. We see something that is of concern to us. What do we do? How can we help? What are some of those things that you said you recently learned that you can share with us so we can be proactive?
Sure. One of the most important things to remember is that people who are thinking of suicide want to stay alive. They do want help, and they find little ways to invite other people in for help. Most of the times those invitations are missed or avoided or just brushed off. So it's important to be aware of those little things and to take action. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but things like withdrawing from social obligations or doing reckless behavior, maybe sleeping all the time, saying things like, I just don't care, it's going to be fine in a little bit, feeling hopeless or desperate. All those things could be indications that someone is contemplating suicide. And the best way to go about it is to just ask directly. It's important to use empathy and tact, of course, when you're doing it, but just to ask someone, I'm hearing things that are concerning to me. Is it possible that you're considering suicide? Sometimes when people just hear it out loud, that really kind of brings them back, and they're like, no, I'm really not thinking about that. I just need help, and I don't know how to get it. If they are contemplating suicide, then you definitely want to lend a listening ear. Non-judgmental, empathetic, like I said. Let them know that it's important, that you care about them, that you want to help them, and that you'll be there with them to help them. And the next step would be to help them find some help. As individuals, it's not our responsibility to fix somebody. We certainly don't know how to do that. We need professional help. But sometimes when you're feeling depressed or you're feeling hopeless and you're just done, you need someone to hold your hand and just get you that help that you need. There is a lot of different resources. There's a National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is 1-800-273-8255, that anybody can call at any time. There's usually also local groups, like, for instance, I live in Yolo County, so there's the Yolo County Suicide Prevention Group. And also, whenever you're in doubt, you can always call 911 and just explain the situation. Say, I have someone who's considering suicide. I would like to be in touch with some kind of mental health hotline, and they can actually direct you to that. So that's something to keep in mind if you're ever in a situation that you're not prepared for. But the most important thing is don't avoid it, don't dismiss it, be there for that person, talk to them, offer them help, hold their hand if you have to, just get them to the next step. Just be a bridge between them and a professional that can help them with their situation. Like I said, most of the time it's avoided, so we want to work to not avoid the signs, because some people are uncomfortable with it, they don't want to talk about it, or they have negative feelings about suicide, so they brush it off, and it just goes downhill.
That's some very good points that you just brought out. I really appreciate appreciate them, and I'd like to reiterate them. I love the non-judgmental. When our emotions wind up getting pricked, and we can go, "Why are you thinking this? You have a great life," or whatever, whatever comes to your mind, and that is going to cause that individual psychologically to pull away even more.
Exactly.
So I appreciated that. And also, don't take it on yourself. Realize that when we're talking, again, about brain chemistry, depression, this type of thing, I have a background in natural health. And for years and years and years, my belief system, when I was younger, in my 20s, was, well, we can fix this through herbal remedies. But really, when you've got severe depression, there is a chemical imbalance in the brain. And that chemical imbalance sometimes is only assisted through medication. And I think people should also remove the stigma, not just of the topic of suicide, but the stigma of taking antidepressants or taking medication. It has its place. I don't think it should be handed out willy-nilly. I think you can do a lot of proactive things in your life to help with depression. I'm a big advocate of positive thought and walking in nature and doing things that feed you. But at the same time, I don't ever want anyone to say, oh, well, I don't want to take that pill because I don't want to, I don't want that stigma, or I don't want to give into it. If you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, it's like having diabetes. It's like having heart disease. It's a medication that can save your life. So, encourage people, as you said, to reach out and get help and help them to do that. As you said that you did in your personal experience with your brother and getting him, and your parents getting him into assistance, correct?
Yes. And it's definitely, and like you said, we don't want to just push drugs left and right, but it's up to the professional to make that determination. And as just regular people, the best we can do is just get someone help and let the professional make that determination. And also, like you said, one of the things we're working for is to decrease the stigma, like I mentioned earlier. And it's just like you said, like we'll talk about taking drugs to lower our blood pressure or, because we have diabetes or whatever, and nobody thinks twice about it. But people are unwilling to open up and say, hey, I'm taking an antidepressant, or hey, I'm taking an anti-anxiety medication, because they feel like people are going to judge them and people are going to look at them like they can't handle their own life. So one of the things that I talk about openly is about medication and about therapy and about how much it can help you, and that it shouldn't be something that we are, embarrassed of, but it should be something that we embrace just like we would embrace chemotherapy or, exercising or anything else. It's just a part of our health that we need to take care of.
That is so true. That is so true. And I think it's starting to get less and less, what's the word I'm looking for? In the past, 20, 30 years ago, it was, don't tell anybody you're on
way
medication.
worse,
Now we kind of joke about it sometimes, and it's not that we should joke about it, but that there should be a much different view of it. If there's a need there, by all means, reach out and give it a try. Give the therapy a try. If it's as simple as taking a pill to keep you from, to save your life, then it is by all means worth that. Worth that, as well as reaching out and, of course, talking to a therapist or doing that. And if you know of someone, take the advice that Sarah just gave, and those tips to just reach out to them and in a non-judgmental way and help them. And don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone and call. I want to make sure that I got that number right. You said the suicide prevention hotline was 1-800-273-8255. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I wrote it down, but I want to make sure that we stated it again. So now these are some steps that you can take to be proactive to help someone who you feel might be depressed. What are some of those? Is there anything else on that before we go to how you how you cope with losing someone. But is there anything else that you want to mention about getting someone help or being proactive?
Just, be aware. That's the biggest thing. Just be aware. Don't ignore the signs. And even though it's uncomfortable, take the time to actually ask the person and offer assistance. And if you're not comfortable with it, let someone else know so that they can step in and see what they can do. But just the biggest thing I want to stress is just don't ignore it. Don't think it's going to go away on its own, because it probably won't.
Boy, that's good. I like that point. If you can't do it, mention it to somebody else who can help out. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to go. We just have a couple of minutes before we go back to our last break. And I want to really make sure that if you have lost someone, because there's oftentimes a lot of them, it itself could cause depression, right? If you lose someone to something, depression and feelings of responsibility. So I want to make sure that we talk about how to care for the family who has lost an individual, or how to care for yourself and deal with the feelings that you're going through. So what were some of the things, and just briefly, because we're going to talk more about it on the last segment, but what were some of the things that you were feeling, if you don't mind me asking, after your brother did this?
Sure. Grief, obviously. I felt like I let him down in a way. I felt like we should have been more aware. I felt like disbelief, like how could this happen to our family? This isn't right. And there's just so many unanswered questions, so much that we'll never know. Trying to think. Basically, that's yeah. It's just such a whirlwind time in your life. You just overcome with grief one moment, angry the next, angry with him, angry with the doctors, angry with people that, therapists, anybody that couldn't help him. And then we also, because we saw him struggle for so long, there was a little bit of understanding. I think some people don't get that because it comes as a surprise to them, especially when we're dealing with youth, like teenagers. We saw him struggle, so it wasn't as much of a shock, I guess, as it would be if you had no indication that somebody was suffering. But it was just this huge disbelief, I guess. Disbelief that it actually happened to us.
Yeah, thinking that it would never have reached that point, probably.
Yeah, thinking we're doing this right, we love him, we're taking care of him, like we're on it. We're not going to let this happen, and yet it did.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to cut out to the last commercial here, and then we'll come back and do some more. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Hear about the Gaberlunzie bear caught rummaging through a refrigerator in an apartment in Colorado? The tenant heard noises coming from the kitchen and saw a bear with his head in the fridge, looking for anything it could eat. What's a word for food that's unfit for human consumption? Wallop. The tenant locked himself in his bedroom and called for help. What's a word for the fear of bears? Ursophobia. We have lots of bears near our Colorado cabin, and we have been told that pepper spray will keep them away. But the idea that it would keep a 500-pound grizzly bear from attacking seems ridiculous to me. I think I'll try the pepper spray on myself and hope the bear doesn't like spicy foods. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Imagine what your life would be like if you could master the thoughts in your head that hold you back, the thoughts that prevent you from living the very best version of the life you're here to live, the very best business that you're here to create. I'd like to invite you to join the Art of Personal Mastery, the free online event that starts the 11th of April. All you have to do to join is to go to www.theartofpersonalmastery.com, enter your name, your email, click Get Access, and I'll share with you how to join me and 21 leading experts from around the world talking about how to break your bad habits, create powerful new ones, master your mindset and your actions to create the life you're here to live. I'll see you there. www.theartofpersonalmastery.com. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Boy, I tell you, these shows fly by fast. When I first talked about doing a radio show or a podcast, I was like, I don't want to do a whole hour. I just want to do 30 minutes. I'm so glad I committed to a whole hour because it just flies by. There's so much information to cover. Now, Sarah, we had talked about recognizing the signs and then talked about kind of what feelings you and your family went through. And I really want to emphasize on this because we don't want it to be a downward spiral where one person is lost and then, others begin to become overly depressed from it. Because in the end, as you've said, and as has been mentioned on the show, it is no one's fault when this happens. It is this chemical imbalance in the brain that sets people off, and we don't want anyone to feel that guilt. So what are some of the things that you can do if you are touched by this, if you experience this in your life as an individual? What advice can you give, Sarah, to the listeners that will help them to deal with that grief and that loss and not carry around guilt?
One of the most beneficial things that I found was connecting with other people who have lost someone to suicide as well. My mom and I joined a support group through the Yolo County Suicide Prevention, and it was about 10 or 12 of us that sat in a room together, and it was proctored by a licensed therapist, and she helped guide the conversation. And just knowing that other people were in the same shoes and they knew how we felt, and just the support that we received from them was indescribable. Also, being involved with the AFSP has been a huge thing for us. When we go to the walk, there's thousands of people who have experienced what we've experienced. And nobody understands what you've been through like other people who have lost someone to suicide. It's unique. People don't like to talk about it. And just being with other people who can understand you is a huge weight off your shoulders. Every year that we go, we meet other families who have been through the same thing as us. And we just offer support and love to each other. And it's pretty amazing. Personally, I also went to therapy, just one-on-one therapy to talk through some of the emotions that I was feeling. And I found that beneficial as well. Everybody grieves differently, so I certainly can't say what people should do or should not do, but I definitely recommend talking to somebody, a professional, if that's an option. If not, other family members, or just finding a support group with people that have been through the situation who can understand what you're going through and who can offer you support in a non-judgmental way.
That's amazing to do that. It does something, honestly, in the brain. So there is a study that was done, and I mentioned it before in the show, about extreme stress, and it was connected out in the Bay Area of California. They did this study connected to mothers who were caring for severely developmentally disabled children, and how the stress of that situation was actually accelerating the loss of the telomeres on the end of their DNA strand. In essence, what all of that means is that it was causing them to shorten their life, because the more damaged your DNA is when it duplicates or replicates, then you're replicating an even more damaged DNA. And they found that this was slowed. This activity of the deterioration was slowed or retarded when they were able to put them in support groups. Because the support groups, it increased the body's ability to create telomerase, which is the amino acid that then feeds the telomeres. Big technical stuff, but long and short of it, it was good to be as in part of a support group. And I'm glad that was helpful to you, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, because a lot of times it's just being able to be with people that know what you're going through, to be able to sit and talk to someone who has that shared experience, because if someone hasn't been in that position, they really honestly cannot sympathize on the deepest level with you, because they just really don't know what you've been going through. So I like that fact, that support group. And I applaud you for reaching out yourself and going and being able to talk through it with a therapist too. Something that you should never ever care any shame, or no one should ever say, well, I don't want to go do this. It's all good. It's all natural. It's work through those feelings. And I love that you also turned it into an activity where you then in turn became active. And it sounds like you didn't plan on being this active in the beginning, but
no.
It has led into that being one of the top fundraisers. That's awesome. So let's talk about that for a couple of minutes. So I did find your Facebook page, and I want to emphasize to everyone that Meowtones, when you're looking on Facebook for her page, it is Team Meowtones for Suicide, and Meowtones is one word. I couldn't find it because I was typing it in as 2 words. But here on the page, you have, it looks like you are doing a lot of different things. You're constantly posting on here. I shouldn't say constantly. That makes it sound like you're posting too much. You're not. But a lot of your posts are connected to different events that you are doing. So you've had ones in the past, painting for a purpose. Oh, that's coming up.
That one's coming up. Mm-hmm.
That one's coming up. And then you have... on the same day, just a little bit earlier, you're doing a raising some dough for suicide prevention. It's kind of cute because you're playing on the word dough there as being for pizza. Why don't you tell us about that particular event?
Sure. So the Painting for a Purpose and the Raise Some Dough, it's all at the same place. The Painting for a Purpose is one of those, paint parties where the artist comes in and helps you walk through it. So that's already booked up, I believe. But the dough part is going to be from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Anybody that comes into Giovanni's Pizza in Land Park, Sacramento, and brings our flyer will receive 20% of the proceeds for that, which is amazing. I can't thank Giovanni's enough for the generous support they've given us. So we're going to be hanging out there with the flyers for most of the day. We're probably going to show up somewhere between 11:30 and noon. We'll probably be there until 7. But the flyer is available on our website, on our Facebook page, I should say, at Team Meowtones for Suicide Prevention. And anybody who's in the Sacramento area can just pop in and have lunch or dinner or even drinks. We do get proceeds from the beer and wine and soda sales as well. So anybody that wants to show some support and get some food in the process, it's an easy way for them to do so. And you can meet us if we're there. So that's a plus.
Awesome. That's very cool. So that is the most current one. And if you are in the greater Sacramento or even Northern California area, this is a great event to be able to come down to Southland Park and support that. Now, you also have, there is the walk that you talked about. When is the walk?
The walk is going to be October 1st, and it's on the west steps of the Capitol in Sacramento. And we are part of the Greater Northern California AFSP branch. So the Sacramento Walk is the biggest walk in the Northern California area. So I think I can't remember, but I know there's like thousands of people that come out for that. I think there's over 100 teams easily every year that sign up. And it's really an amazing event. I have to give a shout-out to Ryan Ayers. He's the AFSP director for Northern California. He does an amazing job. He keeps track of so many different chapters and keeps them all running. I have so much respect for him. And it's just a really good time where they have speakers that come out and talk about suicide-related things. They have honor beads. Every different color represents someone that you've lost. So they have one for parent, they have one for sibling, they have one for child, so on and so forth. People have signs. They get their T-shirts done. They sell stuff. There's remembrance activities where people can write the name of their loved ones on like little leaves, and we make a big tree, like a remembrance tree. We also have signs this year that we're selling where people can have their loved one's picture posted on a sign, and people are actually going to hold them during the walk. So as everybody's walking past, they'll see pictures, you know, your poster basically that you've made with your loved one, and you get to take that home after the walk. And they have a raffle, and there's free goodies out there for snacks. I think they have cookies and coffee and stuff. And it's just a really supportive environment.
Very cool. Now, if someone, because we have a lot of listeners that are not local to to Northern California, real quick, because we're running out of time, how can they support if they want to support virtually because they're not be able to be in person?
You can check our team out at teammeowtones.com, and that's all squished together, teammeowtones.com. You can contact us at teammeowtones@gmail.com. And also, there is chapters of the AFSP all over the nation. So if you're looking to get involved with that, you can just Google the AFSP and find a walk or a chapter near you. They're everywhere. I know they have them in Redding and Chico and stuff, so they're definitely up north. And we go all the way down from Bakersfield to the Oregon border for our chapter.
Okay. Very cool. All right, so we got to wrap up here. I just have a couple minutes left. Reach out. Connect with Team Meowtones on Facebook for suicide prevention on Facebook. The suicide prevention hotline, if you feel the need, if you are concerned about anything, give that a call, 1-800-273-8255. If you are depressed and you are having negative thoughts, reach out for help. If you know of someone and you're concerned, go back and listen to the recording, listen to those steps of how you can help them that Sarah shared. And in this, I just want to thank everyone for being here today and listening on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show. Very, very, very serious topic. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your personal experience and being on the program with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will keep us on your calendar. We have coming up next week, we're going to be talking about stroke in the brain, and prevention on that. Reach out to me. Send me your thoughts, ideas that I mentioned at the beginning of the show at info@yourbestmindonline.com or info@brainladyspeaker.com. Follow me on Facebook, Brain Lady Speaks. Twitter @BrainLady, LinkedIn BrainLady. Just reach out. Love to talk to you. Love to give you some resources. Visit the show page for a link to Sarah and what her work is. And until next week, have an amazing week. Get outside, breathe some fresh air, enjoy nature. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Brain Lady Speaks with Julie Anderson. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on the brain-personality connection.